Hi everybody, welcome back to Call of Duty Modern Warfare Warzone, and in this video I wanted to talk about the settings, the best settings, perhaps, well, in my opinion, the best settings that you might want to run with this particular game, especially if you're new to Modern Warfare 2019 and you've just downloaded the standalone version of Warzone. Now, the first thing I want to say though is remember, whichever settings you go for, you can practice them, can't you, in the practice modes, especially Battle Royale practice. Dive into there and have a go with shooting and seeing how it feels. So, let's go in first. And what we're going to do, we're going to look at the settings first, then we're going to look at your weapons loadouts. So if you press the options button on PlayStation or the button with the lines in on Xbox, you'll see we'll get to these. Now, some of these are going to be very personal, but if you kind of follow them as a guideline, they may well help you out if you're struggling with where to start. Now, I'm an old man, so I use very low sensitivity. I use medium. If you find that you keep, when you're spinning around and trying to get on target, you keep going past your targets, then have to track back to them, turn down your sensitivity. If it's the other way around, where you find you can't spin onto targets fast enough, then turn it up. The trick with sensitivity is to only change it a little bit at a time, and when you do make a change, practice and play with that change for several hours, if not several days, to get used to it. Now, undoubtedly, you have a higher advantage if you can play with a high sensitivity and be able to lock onto targets very quickly. But I find that if I go too high, I just can't lock onto targets very well. So I stay down at low. And don't worry about running a low sensitivity. If that works for you, use it. Aim down sight sensitivity multiplier. I've run with this for the last several months in Modern Warfare and it's worked for me, 1-1. Aim response curve type. Now, this relates to how much you will turn compared to how much you move the stick. So, with a linear type response, if you can imagine, if you move the stick halfway across its travel, it will, and then all the way will be twice as fast. If you use one of the other modes, like dynamic or standard, it's not like a straight line like that. It's more of a logarithmic curve. I find it easier and more consistent to have it set on linear. Control of vibration, obviously disabled. In this game, you're going to have lots of situations where you run around a corner and somebody starts shooting you, and you don't want to make you jump by having your controller. Aim assist, again, there's a few options, but again, through playing lots of Modern Warfare, the standard multiplayer, I found that standard is probably the best one to go for. Weapon mount, this is where you click onto cover, ADS and melee. Movement exit is all the enabled. Aim down sight is hold. These are all the standard settings. That's all standard. Reload, tap to reload. Movement, slide to hold. Auto move forward disabled. Automatic sprint disabled. Video camera resensor enabled. Right, I have my brightness set to 53%. This will depend on your TV or your monitor and the brightness settings you have. Generally, when they say barely visible, you want to jack that up so you can actually see it, because you want to be able to see people in shadows. I know some people might say that's cheating, but you only really you don't get many chances in Warzone. If you win, obviously you can get revived and you can win your gulag fight, you can get back in, but you know, we'll take all the advantages we can get. Film grain, knock it all the way down to 0. If you're playing seriously, and you can still have fun when you're playing seriously, but if you're playing seriously, you really want to try and minimise the after effects that are applied to the game to make it look pretty. You want the game to be as sharp and crisp as possible. So in this particular situation, when we're looking at it, imagine you could just see the corner of someone's head through that, if that was a window we were looking at. You know, with the film grain enabled, you might not see that, so knock it down. Tooltips. Okay, they can be useful because if you forget to do things. I disable subtotals. Go down. Motion blur disabled. Again, I want a crisp image. Now, funnily enough, when I play multiplayer, often I have motion blur enabled and weapon motion blur enabled and film grain enabled because I think the game looks better like that. And in the respawn modes like TDM, hardpoint, domination, this Call of Duty Modern Warfare is so good fun that I like to look at. I like it to look really cool as well. When I'm playing Battle Royale, when I'm playing Warzone, where we don't have many chances, I want all the advantages. So that's why we do that. Weapon motion bird disabled. Minimap, I keep it on round. Rotation is enabled. You could argue that you could change it so it's fixed, so that because you're looking at the big map a lot of the time in Warzone to figure out where you're going, and if the minimap's spinning around, it's facing a different direction. However, I'm used to that minimap from the multiplayer, so I stick with that. And then if we go to audio mix. Now I run, and I would recommend you run by wearing headphones, and boost high after doing lots of testing seems to be probably the best one for hearing people's footsteps, which is very, very important in all multiplayers, but especially Battle Royale. So boost high, master volume 100, music volume knock it all the way down to 30, dialogue all the way down to 40, so it's not getting in the way of, just as you happen to be listening for someone to come around the corner, the game will then inform you that your team has picked up a contract or something like that. Effects volume 100. Juggernaut music enabled. Hit marker effects. Modern Warfare. Voice chat mute everyone except party. I may well change that to enabled. Yeah, because obviously if you're playing squads in Modern Warfare or in Warzone or duos, and that becomes available, you want to be able to talk to your teammates. All the rest is on standard. So there we go. They're the controller settings to get you started. And as I say, if you've got the full COD Modern Warfare, you can go into multiplayer and just try these things out. If you've only got the download version, the free version of Warzone, try in the practice modes. Now, as far as weapons go, this is another important setting you want to go into. Kill streaks don't really matter. Field upgrades, I would always tend to... It's tricky, this one. I enjoy the trophy system, because the big advantage of the trophy system is if you can get hold of a supply box where you get your loadout. The beauty of the trophy system, it stops grenades from killing you. So I would always consider that. Kill streak select doesn't matter because you don't get to do that. But the loadout, now if you call in the special supply crate, you can have one of your loadouts. So it's very important that you set these up in Warzone to be what you would want them to be if you could have this in Warzone. Obviously in Warzone you start off with a pistol and you pick up lots of weapons around the map. But the only way to get the perks that in the game, well, one of the only ways, and your specific guns, is to call in that supply drop. So if you take my favourite setup for playing the ordinary multiplayer, it's the M4, and I have, a Cronin optic, a laser. You're going to have to unlock all this stuff if you're playing Warzone and Modern Warfare for the first time. And I combine that with a rocket launcher. Now, for Warzone, I don't really want a rocket launcher, because in the final circles, there's not that many aircraft or vehicles. Now, you could argue that it's very useful for shooting it through... shooting through windows and things like that, and taking people out as like a just as like a rocket propelled grenade. So what you would probably do with that one is, as soon as if you get a supply drop and you pick up this set, you would then pick up one of the other guns you had to replace the pillar. But what is important are your perks. So EOD, that protects you from explosives, very important. Now Ghost, you do have UAVs in Warzone. Now we haven't had specific confirmation that Ghost protects you from UAVs in Warzone, but it does protect you from UAVs in the ordinary multiplayer, and then Battle Hardened protects you from like stuns and things like that. So I would probably go with those. Now the M4 that's probably my favourite setup with a 3x scope on it, but the one I would be also tempted to pick up is this one. Now in this particular setup, I have the M4 as my secondary. I run Overkill as one of the perks, so I can run a primary as my secondary, and then I run the HDR, which is the 50 cal sniper rifle, to give me a bit of punch. Now I'm still a little bit on the on the fence about whether this is a good idea or not. It is a good idea if you never get to pick up a sniper rifle, but if you manage to pick up a sniper rifle or a DMR with a magnified scope on as you're running around Warzone, then you're better off having that middle perk as something like definitely as Ghost rather than Overkill. But what you want to do is you want to go in and you want to set up some set up some different class setups. The MP5 there, really good submachine gun. What's the other good one? Probably the MP7, another really good submachine gun. And then the good old crossbow. That would be Zone Victory with a crossbow. But for me, something like the M4 is one of the most powerful guns in the game. Easy to use, low recoil, and there's loads of ammo for it when you kill people. So there we go. Hopefully those settings for your controller and some loadout thoughts as well will get you started. And remember, practice those in Battle Royale practice. And also the plunder mode, which is the respawn mode as well, isn't it? And who knows, you may well have a Battle Royale Warzone victory before you know it. Brilliant. Well, if you've got any questions, put them in the comment sections down below. If you've enjoyed the video, hit like. If you want to see more of the same, press subscribe. Thank you very much, and I will see you again soon.